Hello everyone. This is a video that settles the misconception of which is better between the iPhone 16 Pro Max that just came out and the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. After these pieces of information for the iPhone 16 Pro Max and Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, there would be little or no arguments on the one that's better. So let's dive into it, and don't forget to like, follow, share your thoughts in the comments section. Let's go.
The iPhone 16 Pro Max is here. It's the best we have from Apple. How does it compare to the best from Samsung, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra? Well, let's put these head-to-head super SAF style and find out. So initially, let's look at the build and the design. Now, the design for both of these is pretty incremental. If we look at the S24 Ultra, it looks a lot like the S23 Ultra, which looked a lot like the S22 Ultra. And the iPhone 16 Pro Max looks a lot like the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which looked a lot like the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But regardless, I do like the design of both of these. And we have titanium. So that is the new trend. Apple introduced this with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we have grade 5 titanium on the iPhone 16 Pro Max like we did last year. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has grade 2 titanium. Now, I am no titanium expert, but I did do some digging, and it turns out that grade 5 titanium is a higher grade of titanium that is alloyed with small amounts of aluminium and vanadium. I'm literally reading this out. I mean, it may as well be vibranium. But anyway, it also has a higher strength to weight ratio than grade 2 titanium and is more scratch resistant. We've also got grade 5 titanium on the Mars rover, so clearly it is quite premium. So take from that what you will. I'm not somebody who does durability or drop tests. When it comes to the size, the iPhone is slightly larger than the iPhone 15 Pro Max that we had last year, but it is still a little bit more compact, I would say, compared to the S24 Ultra. It's slightly thinner, it's not as wide, and it also weighs a few grams lighter. Now, I would say that the iPhone is the more comfortable device to hold because we do have sharp edges on the S24 Ultra. Now for the colors, we have 4 colors on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and Apple have called all of these titanium. So we've got natural titanium, black titanium, white titanium, and a new desert titanium, which kind of looks like a gold to me. Samsung saw what Apple did last year, and guess what? They've also called all of their colors titanium. So we've got titanium gray, titanium black, titanium violet, and titanium yellow. But we do have 3 additional colors available exclusively from Samsung.com: titanium blue, titanium orange, and titanium green. How many times have I said titanium? But anyway, if you want to get one of those 3 exclusive colors, I will leave my affiliate link down in the description below, and there will also be some of the latest offers. Now, both devices do have an IP68 water and dust resistant rating. However, you can submerge the iPhone 16 Pro Max into water deeper compared to the S24 Ultra. I'm not sure how much that's going to matter to you. Right, now let's turn these around and take a look at the displays. So in terms of the materials, the iPhone 16 Pro Max comes with the latest generation of ceramic shields. So this is the Gen 2 ceramic shield, which is supposed to be 50% tougher than Gen 1. And they have said that it is 2 times tougher than any other smartphone glass. Once again, I'm not going to be the one testing this. With the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, you have Gorilla Armor. Now, this is supposed to be 4 times more scratch resistant than the previous generation, and it's also got apparently a 56% improved durability. Now, to see which one of these is more durable, we're going to have to wait to see some scratch and drop tests from the likes of Jerry Rig Everything and Phone Buff. But in my experience, both of these are pretty durable. Now, one of the advantages we get with Gorilla Armor, which is exclusive to the S24 Ultra, is that it reduces reflections by 75%. And having used the S24 Ultra for the past few months, I have to say this is so useful. The anti-reflective display does make the blacks appear even deeper. Now, the display sizes, the iPhone actually has a slightly larger display compared to the S24 Ultra, but they are pretty similar in size. We've got tiny bezels on both of them. I really can't see which one is smaller. I would say the iPhone is maybe a tad smaller compared to the S24 Ultra. Both of these are using OLED technology, so they've got beautiful colors, and they are both 120 Hz displays, so everything is super smooth. But the S24 Ultra gets a few advantages. Firstly, it does have a higher pixel density, so things are just a tad sharper. But more importantly, it does get brighter compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Both of these support always-on displays, and the S24 Ultra just has a small punch-out, whereas we have a larger dynamic island on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, overall, I think both of these are beautiful displays, some of the best that you're going to get out there, and you really can't go wrong with either. However, if I was to pick one, it would be the S24 Ultra. It's less reflective, it's got a higher pixel density, and it is brighter. Now, although the punch out on the S24 Ultra is smaller compared to the dynamic island on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the dynamic island actually has more to it. You've got lots of different animations and things, which I really appreciate. When you're waiting for a flight, for example, you can see the timer on there. I personally don't use it as an interactive element because it is the topmost part of the screen, but you can if you want to. But most importantly, the dynamic island contains the sensors for Face ID, something that we don't have on the S24 Ultra. Now, for all the wise asses in the comments saying, oh, the S24 Ultra does have facial unlock. Yes, it does, but it's not the same. Samsung themselves tell you that it's not fully secure because it is just using the selfie camera. It doesn't have any additional sensors like we have on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. What we do have on the S24 Ultra is the Qualcomm 3D Sonic Sensor Gen 2. Now, this is my favorite fingerprint scanner on any smartphone. It's quick, it's reliable, and most importantly, it's convenient. And I think personally, it's more convenient overall compared to Face ID. And that's because if you're somebody like me who uses your smartphone in bed and your face is tucked into your pillow, then you're not going to be able to unlock with Face ID. It does need to see your face. And I find that quite frustrating. Whereas with the S24 Ultra, you can just tap it and go. Now, that is my personal preference. Yours might be different. Now, for the cameras, this is usually the part where SideSaf comes in to remind you to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He is having a bit of a break, shall we say. I need to make a new clone. But anyway, if you do want to see more videos like this and you're enjoying it, you know what to do. So the cameras, I have done a detailed Super SAF style camera comparison between these two. It's 25 minutes long. I spent a whole week on it, didn't sleep much. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you want a detailed breakdown and comparison of all of the different cameras. I'll give you a short overview, however. So for the selfie cameras, both have 12 megapixel selfie cameras. I think both of them take great selfies. For the rear-facing cameras, the iPhone 16 Pro Max has a triple rear-facing camera setup. We've got a 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera, which is new. This is up from the 12 megapixel camera that we had last year on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. There's a 48 megapixel Fusion primary camera, and then there is a 12 megapixel telephoto camera, which will give you around 5 times optical zoom. The S24 Ultra actually has a quad camera setup. So we have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 200 megapixel primary camera, a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto zoom camera, but we also have an additional 10 megapixel 3 times zoom camera. For video, both of these do film at 4K 120 frames a second. The S24 Ultra, if you are shooting this, you can only do it in Pro video mode, or if you are in actual slow motion. On the iPhone 16 Pro Max, you can shoot normal video at 4K 120 frames a second, and then you can go into the Photos app and change the speed as you like. You can also record ProRes video with S-Log on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which gives you a lot of flexibility in grading after the fact. But the S24 Ultra can shoot 8K video. This is something that you can't do on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, in my testing, the S24 Ultra does get an advantage when it comes to the 3 times zoom camera. So anything from 3 to 4.9 times is going to be better on the S24 Ultra. I also like the flexibility of having 3x portraits, which are very sharp. It's also got better extended zoom in good light, and I believe that's because of that high resolution 50 megapixel telephoto camera. And surprisingly, in my experience, it also has a better ultra-wide camera, giving you sharper results compared to the high-resolution ultra-wide camera of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, I would still say, gives you better overall video with excellent dynamic range, and especially in features like cinematic mode, it does better compared to the S24 Ultra. I also really like the next generation of photographic styles on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. We've had photographic styles on iPhones for a few years now, but they have been pretty limited in that you would have to set your photographic style and then take the photo. But with the new iPhones, you can actually go into images that you've already taken and then apply photographic styles. And it's not just like applying a filter, because there is a lot more information to work with. And then you're not just relying on Apple to give you the colors they think are best. Generally, when I speak to people, they do find iPhone images a little bit too muted and they want a bit more vibrance. And sometimes when it comes to skin colors, they can be a bit too orange. Well, now you don't have to worry about that, because you can set the photographic style that you like. You can take images with that. It's also available in live preview. And if you want, you can just go in later and then tweak these things as well. The iPhone also has better low light images overall, I found, and it's also a lot easier to shoot in low light with the iPhone compared to the S24 Ultra because of its preview, which brightens up. Now, overall, I have to say both have some of the best cameras out there, and I have no problems shooting with either of these. They, of course, have some advantages and disadvantages versus each other. Once again, if you want to see that detailed Super SAF style camera comparison, that's going to be linked down in the description. Now, let's talk about performance. So, the S24 Ultra comes with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. This is a 4nm chip. The iPhone 16 Pro Max comes with the A18 Pro, which is a 3nm chip. Now, I've done some benchmarks and testing, and the iPhone does come up quite a bit higher compared to the S24 Ultra. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying in the comments, the S24 Ultra is around 9 months old now, so obviously the iPhone is going to be doing better. But even compared to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, because that also had a 3nm chip versus that 4nm chip on the S24 Ultra, and it did perform better in many instances. So when it comes to the raw performance, I would give the edge to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. You can also play console level games on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, like Resident Evil Village or Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is something that you can't do on the S24 Ultra. But having said all of that, on your day-to-day, you're not really going to notice a difference between these two. Both of these perform very, very well. Now let's talk about software. So we of course have Android versus iOS. The S24 Ultra comes with Android 14, and I've just had a huge One UI update. The iPhone 16 Pro Max comes with iOS 18 out of the box. Now, traditionally, Apple devices were supported a lot longer than Android devices were. However, recently Samsung has been promising longer and longer software updates. So with the S24 Ultra, you will be getting 7 generations of Android OS updates and 7 years of security updates. This actually exceeds what Apple usually give, which is around 5 years. They don't actually specify how long they're going to be supporting the devices for, but generally it is around 5 to 6 years. Now, which one of these you prefer is going to, of course, come down to your personal preference. I do like that we now have some more customizations on iOS 18. I can finally move icons around. This is something that I've been saying for many years. If you look at my comparison videos from years ago, I've been going on about it. I would still say Samsung gives you better and more customization. You can just see here, I've got 5 columns of icons, whereas on the iPhone, I can only have 4. Even though I have such a large display, it seems like such a waste of space. I also love the small icon previews that you have on Android, which you don't have on iOS. However, iOS is so much more optimized for so many apps compared to Android. I mean, just to give you some examples, only recently did we get dark mode on TikTok on Android. It's only been a few months, whereas we've had it for years on iOS. Also, when it comes to things like adding hashtags to stories on Instagram, for instance, I can only do 1 hashtag anymore, and it just doesn't seem to work on Samsung, whereas on the iPhone, I've never had this problem. Having said that, I do prefer the multitasking overall on the S24 Ultra. The iPhone is quite aggressive at closing things in the background. And just up until recently, even if you wanted to post an Instagram story, you'd have to keep the app open for it to finish posting, otherwise it wouldn't do it. And when you try to upload a reel, it literally tells you, keep Instagram open for it to finish. Whereas I've never had to worry about this on Android. You just let it upload, go ahead, do whatever else, and it will finish uploading in the background. So we've got advantages and disadvantages for both, but fundamentally, it's going to come down to which operating system is right for you. Now, it's 2024, so we can't do this comparison without talking about AI. The iPhone 16 Pro Max will have Apple Intelligence. Currently, it has launched without it, but it is going to be coming via an update from October. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra comes with Galaxy AI. Now, there are lots of features to cover, and obviously I can't do a detailed comparison as yet because Apple Intelligence is not available. But I'm going to give you my top 3 features, my top 3 highlights Firstly, on the S24 Ultra based on what I've been using, and then on Apple Intelligence of what I'm looking forward to. One of the things that I use all the time on the S24 Ultra is Browsing Assist. This lets you summarize pages with a click, and it's so good, especially when you've got those long articles which you just don't have time to read. I really like Circle to Search. You can just circle pretty much anything and search for it, and it's actually very, very good. But my absolute favorite AI feature on the S24 Ultra is something that actually came recently with an update, and that is sketch to image. You can just sketch whatever you want on an image, and it's going to use AI to make that into something more realistic. So you can change your hairstyle if you want. You can add a cat into your picture, whatever it is. I actually find this very, very fun. Now with Apple Intelligence, I'm actually looking forward to priority notifications because currently I prefer how notifications are displayed on Android compared to iOS. I'm looking forward to the ability to summarize long emails, and I'm also very much looking forward to Image Playground, where you can create an entirely new image based on a description, suggested concepts, or even someone from your photos library. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I guess what we can do is when Apple Intelligence is available, I can do a detailed Apple Intelligence versus Galaxy AI comparison. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see that. Right now, it's time for the bonus round. Let's talk about some of the bonus features each of these devices offer. So with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, you have emergency SOS via satellite, and we're also going to be getting emergency SOS live video. You've got crash detection, and you've also got roadside assistance via satellite. Now, thankfully, I've not had to use any of these, but it's nice to know that these are there. You also have a LiDAR scanner, which is great for AR, and we have some additional buttons. So firstly, we have the action button, which is up here. You can customize this to do whatever you want, whether that's an accessibility shortcut or even opening a particular instance in an app. Now, yes, people are going to say you can do the same with the power button on the S24 Ultra, and no, that is not the case by default. You have a very limited functionality with double press of the power button on the S24 Ultra compared to the dedicated action button. And this year, we also have a brand new button, which Apple don't call a button, and that is the camera control. Now, this you can use to launch the camera, and it's also in the perfect position as a trigger. Once again, yes, you can launch the camera by double pressing the power button on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, but this is not the same as camera control. The camera control also has lots of additional functions, so you can press down lightly to adjust things like your zoom or exposure. You can double press to switch between all of these as well. I personally like it to switch between the cameras. Now, the bonus features that the S24 Ultra has, firstly, DeX. This is a great way to have a desktop experience using your smartphone wirelessly on pretty much any TV that's compatible. The other thing that we have on the S24 Ultra is this, the S Pen. Now, sure, the S Pen might not be something that you use all the time, and personally, I don't use it all the time. I use it maybe every few days, but when I do use it, it's so useful, especially with the new Galaxy AI features like sketch to image. And the S Pen also has Bluetooth, so you can use it remotely, say as a trigger for the camera on your smartphone. Now, speaking of the speakers, we have stereo speakers on both, one in the earpiece and one bottom firing, and they both sound very good. Now, if I was to pick one, then I would say that the iPhone does have better overall speakers. They are fuller and give you richer sound compared to the already good speakers on the S24 Ultra. Now, touching on some of the other features, we have USB Type-C on both devices. Apple finally switched to USB Type-C last year, and I'm so glad this is here. And both devices do come with a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable out of the box, but you do get a nicer braided cable on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Also, when it comes to transfer speeds, as far as I can see, the iPhone 16 Pro Max does have faster, up to 10 gigabits a second transfer speeds, whereas the S24 Ultra has around 5. Both devices have Wi-Fi 7, so if you have a compatible router, you're going to be able to get some amazing speeds. And we have eSIM only in the US for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Here in the UK, thankfully, we still do get a SIM card tray on the iPhones, and then you can have an additional SIM as an eSIM. On the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, you have eSIM support, but then you do get a physical SIM card tray wherever you are. And in certain regions, you'll get a dual SIM card tray too. Now for the batteries. So the S24 Ultra does have a larger physical battery compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But as I always say, size doesn't always matter. Now, in my testing and in my experience, the iPhone has given me better battery life compared to the S24 Ultra. If you want to see specifics, then my friend Tom, the tech chap, has done a detailed battery drain test, and you can see the results in that. But in my experience of using both of these, I'm getting around 10 to 15% better battery life on the iPhone. Of course, usage will vary from person to person, but I think you will find that the iPhone gives better battery life to the S24 Ultra, which does give you pretty good battery life anyway. Now, although neither of these come with a charger out of the box, you will be able to get faster wired charging on the S24 Ultra up to 45 watts, and that's going to give you around 50% in 20 minutes. On the iPhone 16 Pro Max, you're going to be looking at 50% in around 35 minutes. But when it comes to wireless charging, you will get 15 watts of wireless charging on both. However, if you use MagSafe on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, then you can get up to 25 watts. Now, to be able to achieve this, you are going to need a new MagSafe charger, the one that has the braided cable, and you will need to plug it into a 30-watt adapter or higher. And although you can charge other devices with the iPhone if you use a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable, on the S24 Ultra, you do have wireless power share, so you'll be able to charge things like your earbuds at the back of your phone. Now, finally, the price. So the S24 Ultra actually started at a higher price compared to what the iPhone 16 Pro Max is starting at for the base 256GB versions. And although in the UK, the 512 and 1TB versions are priced the same in the UK for both devices, the S24 Ultra is higher in the US. Now, having said that, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has been out for quite a few months, so you can get some really good deals for it. I'll try to leave some affiliate links down in the description below, but you'll be able to get this at a much lower price, or you'll be able to get much better deals on the S24 Ultra compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And that is the detailed super SaaS style comparison between the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. I think both of these are excellent flagship devices. You're going to get advantages and disadvantages on both. The iPhone has arguably the more premium build and it's more comfortable to hold. It also has better battery life and speakers, and then you've got things like the action button and the camera control. The S24 Ultra, on the other hand, has the S Pen, which makes it unique. It's got a better display overall, I would say. And it has that additional 3x zoom camera. It's a very difficult decision of which one of these to pick. I think it might just fundamentally come down to which operating system you prefer. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. As a lot of the regulars on the channel will know, I always keep two devices with me at all times, one Apple device and one Android device, and these two are my picks this year. That's what I think anyway. What do you guys think? Drop me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know which one of these you would pick.